those things. And we have one more guest right now. It is Bill Catania. He's the founder and CEO over at OneRail. Hey, Bill, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Hey, I dig the shirt.
Thank you. Hey, got to take advantage of the branding opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful.
So you're a founder, and every time I have a founder on, I have to ask them, what is the why? Why did you start OneRail?
Yeah, I started, well, it's really more how the journey started. So I have a career of startups. My last startup today is processing the vast portion of the digital coupon redemptions in the United States in about 40,000 stores. I had about a year between that one and this one, and I happened to be standing in a home improvement store. We won't say which one. And they said it would take 10 days for me to have a refrigerator delivered. And I just couldn't believe it. I had no intention on going down a path. Here I am 5 years later. The refrigerator was really the catalyst for that. But it wasn't until the last couple of years that really got our arms around where the biggest problem was. And it comes down to the matching of supply and demand and sort of taking all the friction out of delivery. There's a lot of great couriers out there. There's a lot of great carriers, but being able to match that the right way with the demand signal and then making it just work so that the customer's happy is the challenge.
I love it. How many times have we had founders on who they started their company because of some real world problem and they're like, well, if nobody's going to fix it, then I'll do it my damn self.
Yeah, I'm always doing it myself. It's not one thing, it's another.
Yeah. So those of you too with ideas, dreamers out there, if there's a problem that you recognize, hey, you got a business idea and opportunity. Every founder is the exact same. Well, most founders are the exact same. It was just an idea and they brought it to life.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, Bill, you're going through this and you've started it and you've learned quite a bit about what happens and the pain points with shippers, et cetera. At what point does a shipper just need, they always want more supply, more capacity, et cetera. At what point is it that they say, wait a minute, I need a platform, I need some efficiency here?
Yeah, great question. So you can solve a lot of your problems if you're a smaller shipper and you just need to find a courier. There's a lot of great courier networks out there. There's companies out there that can solve the problem, whether it's a gig economy courier or a more traditional courier that has fixed assets. Where we find we solve the biggest problem is where scale has reached such a point that the shipper can't keep track of all their couriers anymore. They can't manage them at an SLA level. So they know, for example, if they're offering a 2-hour delivery guarantee, what markets are doing better than others? If you have a troubled market, how can you improve that quality? And so what we find is a platform like OneRail uses data. It's a data-driven, logic, rules engine-driven platform that says, hey, wait a minute, SLAs are slipping in Chattanooga. We need to find more supply immediately. And that supply has to be able to do exactly what it's supposed to do, whether it's accessorials like assembly or it's a 2-hour speedy delivery. It has to be able to perform at the level the customer expects, and then having the ability to immediately access that supply in milliseconds, and then track it all the way through to proof of delivery. We found that COVID was a catalyst for needing platforms. There was a lot of shippers, a lot of retailers notably, that went down the path of engaging many different couriers. We found some retailers that had 100 delivery companies they were working with, and they're managing it in Excel. And it's like, you can't manage it in Excel when volume is doubling and tripling over the matter of months. So what happened was it accelerated retail roadmaps, it accelerated shipper roadmaps, and it's made platforms, orchestration platforms, notably, it's put them front and center.
A lot of people are in that position, right, where you try to get that refrigerator and it took X amount of time. Well, I'm in the process of moving into a house. I had to get a washer and dryer for the house. And so many of the units I was looking at are sold out. Nike comes in, their inventory sold out. So you're talking about durable, heavy goods like that, but you're also talking about this big inventory problem that's happening. A lot of the supply chain is strained, right? What has been some of that COVID impact on that final mile?
So the first thing that we saw was, there was an immediate squeeze on capacity. There's only so many trucks and there's only so many ways to reach those trucks. So for customers that we have now that didn't have a platform then, they were really struggling to meet that capacity need. You saw like Instacart, for example, kind of a one-threaded network. It's Instacart and it's Instacart drivers. They don't use other networks. So with Instacart, there was 4, 5, 6 days that you'd go without deliveries. Retailers can't do that. When customers need things, you got to be able to deliver them, that day at least. And so not having a backup plan is really where the biggest pain point is. So when you start to see, a total collapse of SLAs and multiple days of outages, that's what COVID did, is it shocked the supply chain. And so now what's happened is you're finding delivery networks in general are more responsive with a platform. They're more fluid. You can be more fluid and strategic with your inventory. Look what Target's done. Look at how Target has been rewarded, on the market for being able to have a micro fulfillment network. They've been probably one of the best. So it's really fluidity and adaptation is what COVID taught everybody. You need to have fluidity and you need to have adaptation and capacity.
Yeah, I bet a bunch of that was baptism by fire as well. I bet you got a lot of people who are like, whoa, things change really quickly. I need to figure out my final mile, because they weren't final mile before, right? Like you say, Target. There was a little bit of that there, but there wasn't, suddenly nobody's in the brick and mortar and you're buying online trying to get this stuff done. When you're talking to people about, their own fleet, their private fleet versus, outsourced fleets, is this something that works with both of those internal and external fleets, or internal fleets say, we already have our own internal fleet, we don't need optimization, we're going to know what's going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the biggest problems we're solving are retailers that have their own fleet that want to be able to optimize delivery, to take advantage of their fleet, to fully utilize it, but also have access to additional capacity. We have a lot of customers that are coming to us saying, hey, we want to reduce our fleet, in an era when delivery, is skyrocketing. We think we can reduce the size of our fleet, just make it more efficient, and then rely on all these great third-party couriers that are out there. Again, there's some amazing networks like Drop-Off and Freight, Pickup, companies like Epic One, that's a little small regional carrier that's added almost 10 trucks since we've been working with them. So being able to reach those guys, and not have to have as many of their own trucks on the balance sheet and employees when they only really are needed for 3 hours of the day, that's where we're solving a problem, and we're doing it in a split second when that order comes through.
Bill, thank you so much for all this information. If people have more questions about this, they want to connect with you, where should we send them to?
Well, today you can see us, and tomorrow at the 3PL Summit at FreightWaves. You can stop by our booth, but you can always find us online, OneRail.io, and we'd be happy to hear from you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Take care.